Part 3. The Awakening. The hologram of Dae-hyun turned toward the ship's sensors, his expression grim. Vranek hunter-killers, Model 7. They detect life signs and eliminate them. How many living beings are on this planet? 63 at base camp, Hana said quickly, checking her data. Plus us. 65 total. This ship was designed to protect millions, Dae-hyun said. We can save 65 easily. But I need time. The Eternal Hammer has been in hibernation for 47,000 years. Main power systems need at least 2 hours to fully activate. Taemin stood up. We don't have 2 hours. Those machines will reach base camp in less than 1 hour. Our people have no weapons strong enough to fight them. They are scientists, not soldiers. Dae-hyun's hologram walked to the weapon station. Then we buy time. I can bring point defense turrets online immediately. They run on backup power. Taemin, I need you at the weapons console. Hana, I need you to boost the communication signal. We must warn your base camp. The interference, Hana started, is coming from the Vranek machines. Dae-hyun interrupted. They jam all communications to isolate their targets. But this ship has military-grade transmitters. We can punch through if you route all available power to the communication array. They moved quickly. Taemin sat at the weapons console. The controls were old but intuitive. Designed for humans. His hands found the right buttons easily. Muscle memory from thousands of years ago somehow still present in human design. Screens lit up showing the exterior of the ship. The machines were closer now. Taemin could see them clearly on the cameras. They looked like a nightmare combination of insect and tank. 6 legs each, bodies covered in armor plating that seemed both metallic and organic. Weapons mounted on their backs. Sensors glowing red. Targeting systems active, Dae-hyun said. Taemin, you see the red circle on your screen? That indicates weapon range. When the machines enter that circle, fire. How? Taemin asked, his finger hovering over multiple buttons. The trigger is marked in red. Just press it. The computer handles aiming. The first machine crossed into the red circle. Taemin pressed the trigger. A turret on the ship's hull rotated and fired. The sound was like thunder. The machine exploded in a flash of blue light. More machines entered the circle. Taemin fired again and again. Each shot destroyed a machine. But more kept coming, crawling from the jungle, emerging from underground tunnels he had not known existed. I got through to base camp. Hana shouted. They can hear us. This is Taemin, he said, still firing. Base camp, you are under attack. Hostile machines approaching your position. You need to evacuate immediately. Jiwoo's voice came back, distorted but clear. Taemin, what are you talking about? What machines? Vranek hunter-killers. Ancient war machines. They are active and heading your way. You have maybe 30 minutes. This is insane. Taemin, have you been drinking the local water? There are no— His words cut off. In the background, Taemin heard screaming. Then Jiwoo's voice again, high and frightened. By the stars, something just burst from the ground. It killed 2 researchers. We need help. Evacuate to the main research vessel, Taemin ordered. It has shields. Get everyone inside now. We cannot leave our equipment. Your equipment is already dead. Move. Taemin destroyed another machine, then 3 more. But the swarm around the Eternal Hammer was growing. 20 machines. 30. 50. They surrounded the ship, attacking the hull with energy weapons that left scorched marks on the ancient metal. Hull holding, Dae-hyun reported. But we cannot defend both positions. If I activate more weapons here, I slow the main power restoration. If I ignore the machines here, they will eventually breach the hull and kill you. How long until the ship can fly? Taemin asked. 90 minutes at current power restoration rate. Taemin made a decision. Focus everything on main power. Get this ship moving. I will handle the machines here. You cannot handle this many alone, Dae-hyun said. I won't be alone. Taemin looked at Hana. Can you operate a turret? She nodded. Fear clear on her face, but her jaw set with determination. Tell me what to do. Dae-hyun split the weapons control to 2 stations. Hana took the secondary position. Together they began firing. The turret spun and roared. Machines exploded in flashes of light, but more took their place. Always more. The ship's sensors showed the situation at base camp growing worse. The machines had surrounded the research vessel. They were trying to cut through its shields with focused fire. Jiwoo was screaming orders. Kyung-ho was trying to organize a defense using mining lasers and excavation equipment. It was not enough. We are losing people. Hana said quietly, watching a camera feed. The machines are too strong. Main power at 40%, Daehyun announced. Gravity drives coming online. Engine systems initializing, the eternal hammer groaned. Metal that had not moved in 47,000 years began to wake. Taemin felt vibration through his feet. The ship was coming alive. We need to make a choice, Daehyun said. I can bring weapons fully online now, or I can bring engines fully online. Not both, not yet. Taemin looked at the sensor display. Base camp had maybe 10 minutes before the shields failed. The eternal hammer was buried under hundreds of meters of stone and soil. If they brought weapons online, they could clear the machines nearby. But they would be trapped, unable to reach base camp in time. Engines, Taemin said. Get us out of here. We will be vulnerable during launch, Daehyun warned. I know. Do it anyway. Daehyun's hologram saluted. As you command, Captain. The engines roared. The sound was incredible, a deep bass note that made the cavern shake. The eternal hammer lifted from its support structure for the first time in longer than human civilization had existed. Dust and rocks fell from above. The machines attacking the hull were thrown off by the movement. Engaging launch sequence, Daehyun said calmly. Like he did this every day. Recommend all personnel secure themselves. This will not be gentle. Taemin and Hana strapped into their chairs. The ship rose faster, pressing them down with acceleration. The stone ceiling rushed toward them. We are going to crash. Hana shouted. No, Daehyun said. Watch. The eternal hammer's bow began to glow. Energy built around the front of the ship, forming a shield that shimmered blue and white. When they hit the stone ceiling, the rock did not stop them. It exploded outward, vaporized by the shield. The ship punched through hundreds of meters of earth in seconds. They burst from the jungle in an eruption of dirt and shattered trees. Birds scattered in panic. The machines on the ground turned their weapons upward, firing at the emerging ship. Their shots bounced off the hull, doing nothing. The eternal hammer rose into the sky, engines howling, its dark hull reflecting sunlight for the first time since before humans invented writing. Taemin looked at the viewport and saw the jungle spread below them, saw the distant smoke from base camp. Course set for base camp, Daehyun reported. Arrival in 3 minutes, and will we make it in time? Hana asked. Taemin watched the sensors. The shield around the research vessel was at 10%. 5%. The machines were seconds from breaking through. We have to, he said. The eternal hammer flew like a meteor across the sky, a guardian waking from its long sleep, rushing toward a battle that should have ended 50,000 years ago. Part 2. The Discovery. The entrance to the stone structure was sealed with a door that had no handles, no obvious mechanism. Taemin ran his scanner over every centimeter of its surface, while Hana set up the portable communication relay. They were now 200 kilometers from base camp, deep in unexplored jungle. The canopy above was so thick that even at midday the light was dim and green. The door is not stone, Taemin said, reading his scanner display. It is metal. Some kind of alloy I have never seen. The scanner cannot identify it. Can we cut through? Hana asked. Maybe. But it would take days with our equipment. He stepped back, studying the symbols carved around the doorframe. His fingers traced the ancient writing. Wait, these are not just warnings. They are instructions. Sun Yi's voice came from the scanner. Analyzing symbol patterns. Cross-referencing with proto-human database. Pattern suggests a lock mechanism requiring specific sequence input. Taemin's hands moved quickly over the symbols, pressing certain ones in order. Nothing happened. He tried again, different sequence. Still nothing. Try reading it backwards, Hana suggested. Ancient human writing sometimes went right to left instead of left to right. Taemin nodded and pressed the symbols in reverse order. For a moment, nothing. Then a deep grinding sound came from within the door. Dust that had not moved in thousands of years fell from the cracks. The door split down the middle and slowly, so slowly, began to open inward. Cold air rushed out, carrying a smell of metal and something else. Something old. We should call base camp, Hana said nervously. Tell them what we found. Taemin tried his communicator, static. He frowned. Something is blocking the signal. Can you boost it? Hana checked her equipment. The relay is working fine, but I am getting massive interference. It is coming from inside the structure. Whatever is in there is generating some kind of field. They looked at each other. The smart thing would be to wait, to go back and get more equipment, more people. But Taemin knew what would happen. Jiwoo would take control of the site. Other researchers would claim credit for the discovery, and Tae-min would be pushed aside again, forgotten. "I am going in," he said. "Then I am coming with you," Hana replied. They activated their helmet lights and stepped through the door. Inside was a corridor carved from the same strange metal. Their footsteps echoed. The walls were covered in more symbols, layer upon layer of writing. Tae-min recognized some of them. Warning signs, directions, technical specifications for something. The corridor descended steeply into the earth. They walked for 20 minutes, going deeper and deeper. The air grew colder. Their breath made fog in the helmet lights. Then the corridor ended at another door. This one opened easily when Tae-min approached, sliding upward with a whisper of ancient machinery still functioning after unimaginable time. Beyond was a cavern. Not natural, but carved out by machines. And in the center of that cavern, resting on massive support structures, was a ship. Hana made a sound like a gasp and a sob combined. By all the stars, the ship was enormous. At least 2 kilometers long, maybe more. It was hard to tell in the dim light of their helmets. The hull was dark, almost black, covered in the same symbols they had seen above, and on the side, still visible despite the age, was an emblem. Tae-min recognized it from his research, a circular design with a hammer in the center surrounded by stars, the symbol of ancient Earth, the symbol of humanity's first empire. "Sun-yi," Tae-min whispered, his voice shaking. "Scan the ship. Tell me I am not dreaming." "You're scanning," the AI replied. "Ship dimensions: 2.3 kilometers length, 0.4 kilometers width. Hull composition: unknown alloy, consistent with the door material. Age estimate based on isotope decay: 47,000 years plus or minus 500 years. 47,000 years, Hana repeated. "Tae-min, this is impossible." "Impossible things are still real," he said, moving forward like a man in a dream. They walked beneath the ship, staring up at its massive hull. Tae-min's scanner detected faint energy readings, extremely faint but present. Something inside the ship was still active. After 47,000 years, some part of it still had power. They found a ramp leading up to what looked like an entry hatch. The door was closed, but beside it was a panel with a handprint symbol. Tae-min placed his hand on it, not expecting anything. The panel glowed. Dim red light spread through circuits in the metal. The door began to open. "It recognized you," Hana said in disbelief. "It recognized your DNA, your human DNA." They entered the ship. Emergency lighting activated as they passed, running on power reserves that should have died millennia ago. The interior was surprisingly clean, preserved by the sealed environment. They found crew quarters, weapons storage, medical bays. Everything was designed for humans. Human-sized beds, human-sized chairs, controls with labels in ancient human languages. Tae-min's scanner led them to the bridge. It was massive, clearly designed for a large crew. Stations for weapons, navigation, engineering, communications, and at the center a captain's chair facing a huge viewport that currently looked out at Cavern Stone. "Sun-yi, can you interface with the ship's computers?" Tae-min asked, attempting connection. Ship computer core is in deep hibernation mode, attempting wake sequence using standard human command protocols. Lights began coming on throughout the bridge. Screens flickered to life, showing text in languages so old that Sun-yi had to work to translate them. And then, above the captain's chair, a holographic display activated. A man appeared. He was tall, wearing a military uniform Tae-min had never seen before. His face was Asian, Korean maybe, though the features were slightly different from modern Koreans. He looked to be in his 40s with gray at his temples. "I am Captain Dae-hyun of the Guardian ship Eternal Hammer," the hologram said in ancient Korean, which Sun-yi translated in real time. "If you are seeing this, then either the enemy has returned or enough time has passed that my crew is long dead and you are someone new. Either way, you need to understand what happened here." Tae-min sank into the captain's chair, his legs suddenly weak. Hana stood beside him, one hand on his shoulder. The hologram continued. 50,000 years ago, humanity ruled 1,000 star systems. We were powerful, wealthy, advanced. Then the Vranik came. They were a species that consumed everything. They would invade a planet, drain it of all resources, and move on. They destroyed dozens of civilizations before reaching human space. The display changed, showing a galactic map with red areas spreading like disease across the stars. We fought them for 200 years. It was total war. Every human world contributed. We built ships like the Eternal Hammer, Guardian-class warships, the most powerful vessels ever created. We fought the Vranik back system by system, planet by planet, and finally we won. The hologram's face grew sad. But the cost was terrible. Most human worlds were destroyed. Our population dropped from hundreds of billions to millions. And we learned something during the war. The Vranik did not die easily. They left behind machines, dormant weapons, waiting to reactivate if they ever sensed civilization again. We made a choice, a hard choice. We scattered seed ships across the galaxy, small groups of humans sent to isolated planets. We gave them tools to survive, but we removed all memory of our technology. We forced them to start over, to build new civilizations from nothing. This way, if the Vranik machines ever woke, they would find small, primitive colonies. Not worth their attention. Not worth destroying. Taman felt tears on his face. He understood now. Modern humanity, his humanity, were the descendants of those seed colonies. They had forgotten everything by design. The Guardian ships were left behind to protect the seed worlds. We put ourselves into hibernation, deep underground, hidden from sensors. Our orders were simple. If the Vranik return, wake up and fight. Otherwise, sleep forever. Let the new humans grow in peace. The hologram looked directly at Timon. If you have woken me, something has gone wrong. My sensors are detecting activity in the jungle. Movement, energy signatures I recognize. The Vranik machines are awakening. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Hana's communication equipment started screaming warnings. She pulled up the remote sensor data from their camp perimeter. Taemin, she said, her voice tight with fear. Something is moving out there. Multiple contacts. They are surrounding the ship. On the displays, Taemin saw them. Machines crawling from the earth. Insect-like things made of metal and something organic. They had been sleeping in the jungle soil, waiting. And the expedition's arrival had woken them up. How many? He asked. 20? No, 30. More coming. And Taemin... She looked at him with frightened eyes. They are heading toward base camp too. Part 1. The Laughingstock. The conference room on Verdant 7 smelled like wet soil and alien sweat. Taemin stood at the front, his hands shaking slightly as he held the data tablet. Around the table sat 12 researchers from across the galaxy. Most of them were Velcrin, tall crystalline beings whose bodies reflected the dim light in rainbow patterns. A few were other species he barely recognized. Only one other human sat in the room, Hana, the communications officer who always smiled at him in the hallways. These energy signatures, Taemin said, pointing to the holographic display floating above the table, match the descriptions from ancient human texts. The Guardian fleet. I believe one of their ships is buried in the jungle right here on this planet. Silence filled the room. Then someone laughed. It was Kyung-ho, a senior Velcrin researcher whose crystalline face could somehow still show contempt. The Guardian fleet? Human legends? You cannot be serious. I am completely serious, Taemin insisted. The readings show technology that predates anything in our current databases. The energy signature is unique. It matches nothing we have ever seen. Jiwoo, the expedition leader, leaned back in his chair. His crystalline fingers tapped against the table, making a sound like glass chimes. Taemin, your enthusiasm is noted. But you must understand how this sounds. Humans have been traveling in space for only 800 years. You are a young species. The idea that ancient humans built advanced warships 50,000 years ago. He paused, and others around the table chuckled. It is fantasy. Children's stories. But the evidence, Taemin started. The evidence shows energy readings, another researcher interrupted. Probably from natural crystal formations. This planet is full of unusual minerals. You are seeing what you want to see. Taemin felt his face grow hot. He had spent 3 years tracking these legends across 12 different worlds. Every ancient text, every fragment of old data, pointed to the same thing. Humanity had been great once, powerful once, and then something happened. Something that made them forget everything and start over. I have documented proof from archaeological sites on 4 different planets, Taemin said, his voice rising. The symbols match. The technology signatures match. Why will nobody listen? Because you sound crazy, Kyung-ho said flatly. You chase ghost stories while real scientists do actual work. Jiwoo raised a hand, calling for quiet. Taemin, I appreciate your passion. Truly. But the council sent us here to investigate these energy readings properly. With science. Not with fairy tales. He looked at his datapad, then back at Taemin. However, we cannot leave any sector unexplored. I am assigning you to Survey Section 7, the deep jungle 200 kilometers south. Taemin blinked. Section 7? The preliminary scan showed that area has the weakest readings. Exactly, Jiwoo said with a thin smile. It will be a simple survey. You can take basic equipment, check the area, file your report, and then we can all focus on the real work in the northern sectors where the strong readings are. Around the table, researchers nodded. Some were already looking at their own tablets, dismissing him. Taemin understood immediately. They were getting rid of him, sending him to the least important area so he would stop bothering them with his theories. I will go, Taemin said quietly. Excellent, Jiwoo said. Take whatever supplies you need. Report back in 1 week. As the meeting ended and people filed out talking among themselves about important research plans, Taemin stood alone at the front of the room. He stared at the holographic map of Verdant 7, at the little marker showing Section 7 deep in the unexplored jungle. They are wrong, a voice said behind him. Taemin turned. Hana stood there, her dark eyes serious. She was younger than him, maybe 25, and this was her first deep space assignment. You think so? He asked. I do, she said firmly. I read your research papers, the ones you published before joining this expedition. Your evidence is solid. The symbols you found on Kepler 442, the energy signatures on Tau Ceti, the architectural patterns on Ross 128, they all point to something real. Taemin felt something release in his chest. Someone believed him. Thank you, he said softly. I want to come with you, Hana announced. To Section 7? What? No, it will be dangerous. The jungle is not explored. There could be predators, diseases, anything. Hana crossed her arms. I am communications officer. If you go into deep jungle, you need someone to maintain contact with base camp. It is logical. Jiwoo cannot refuse. She was right, of course. Taemin smiled for the first time that day. Okay, thank you, Hana, really. Do not thank me yet, she said. If we find nothing, I will look as foolish as you. They spent the next day preparing. Taemin packed scanning equipment, excavation tools, camping gear, and weapons for defense against wildlife. Hana loaded communication equipment into their transport vehicle, a small hover truck that could handle rough terrain. On the morning they left, Kyung-ho stopped by their vehicle. Going to find your mythical warship? He asked mockingly. Going to do my job, Taemin replied evenly. Of course, Kyung-ho said. When you find nothing but rocks and trees, perhaps you will finally accept reality. Humans are not special. You are newcomers to the galaxy. Accept it. After he walked away, Hana made a rude gesture at his back. Taemin laughed despite himself. The drive into the jungle took 6 hours. The terrain grew rougher, the trees taller and stranger. Verdant 7 had evolved separately from Earth, and its plant life showed it. Some trees had bark that looked like metal. Others grew in spiral patterns that hurt to look at. Strange creatures called from the canopy, sounds that seemed almost like words but made no sense. As they drove deeper, Taemin activated his scanner. It was a custom model, running software he had written himself based on ancient programming languages he had found in archaeological sites. He had named the AI assistant Sunyi, after his grandmother who had encouraged his love of history. Readings are getting stronger, Sunyi's voice came from the scanner. Energy signature matching Guardian fleet patterns. Confidence level 40%. 40%, Hana said from the driver's seat. That is much higher than the preliminary scan suggested. Yes, Taemin said, feeling excitement build in his stomach. Jiwoo was wrong. The readings here are not weak. Something is blocking them. Something is hiding the signal. Or maybe, Hana said carefully, something is hiding itself. They made camp that night in a clearing. Taemin could not sleep. He kept checking the scanner, watching the energy readings pulse on the screen. They were close to something. He could feel it. On the 3rd day they found it. The jungle opened into a small valley, and there, covered in 50,000 years of vines and soil and time, was a stone structure. It was massive, rising 30 meters high, covered in symbols that made Taemin's heart race. Those are proto-human, he whispered, the language that came before all Earth languages. I have seen fragments before, but never this many, never this complete. Hana stood beside him, her mouth open. What do they say? Taemin moved closer, his scanner translating slowly. They are warnings. Guardian sleeps here. Do not wake unless the enemy returns. Do not forget what was sacrificed. Do not forget what we were. He looked at Hana. Her eyes were wide. We need to get inside, Taemin said. They laughed at you, Hana said softly. Back at camp. They all laughed. I know. They will not laugh for long. Part 4. The Siege. The research vessel's shields failed just as the Eternal Hammer arrived. Taemin watched on his screen as the blue barrier flickered and died. The machines pressed forward, their weapons charging for the killing blow. Inside the vessel, 58 people waited to die. Weapons range in 5 seconds, Daehyun announced. Target lock acquired, firing. The Eternal Hammer's main batteries opened fire. Beams of pure energy, bright enough to burn afterimages into Taemin's eyes, lanced down from the sky. The machines did not stand a chance. The first shot vaporized 3 of them instantly. The second shot carved a line through their formation, destroying a dozen more. The third, fourth, and fifth shots scattered the rest. The machines that survived tried to scatter into the jungle. Taemin tracked them with the targeting computer, his fingers moving quickly over controls that felt natural despite being designed before his ancestors invented agriculture. He fired again and again. Each shot found its target. Within 30 seconds, every machine near the base camp was destroyed. The communication channel erupted with voices. People crying, laughing, shouting in confusion and relief. Through the chaos, Jiwoo's voice cut clearly. What is that ship? Where did it come from? It came from the jungle, Taemin replied. From Section 7. The sector you thought was least important. The sector where you sent me to get me out of the way. Silence on the channel. Then Kyung-ho's voice, quiet and stunned. That is the Guardian ship. The one from the legends. You found it. You actually found it. Yes, Taemin said simply. Kyung-ho paused. I owe you an apology. A significant apology. Before Taemin could respond, Daehyun spoke urgently. We have a problem. Sensors detect 17 more machine clusters. They are converging on this position from all directions and... He paused, checking his instruments. Something much larger is moving. Deep underground, it is big. Very big. Hana pulled up the sensor data on her screen. How big? Initial readings suggest 10 kilometers in length. Everyone on the bridge stopped moving. 10 kilometers. That was not a machine. That was a ship. A massive ship buried beneath the planet's crust. What is that? Taemin asked. Daehyun's hologram flickered, showing stress on the ancient systems. Accessing military database. Cross-referencing energy signature. Match found. He looked at Taemin, and for the first time the old captain's face showed fear. That is a Vranic Command Nexus, the flagship of their invasion fleet. We thought we destroyed all of them in the war. You missed one, Hana said. Apparently. Daehyun brought up tactical displays. A command nexus is not just a ship. It is a mobile factory. It builds more war machines. It can produce thousands of hunter-killers per day. If it reaches space and escapes this planet, it will summon more Vranic forces. This entire sector will be consumed. Taemin felt ice in his stomach. Can we destroy it? The Eternal Hammer was designed to fight command nexuses. But I'm at 60% power. My weapon systems are not fully restored. My shields are weak. In a straight fight, we would lose. Then we do not fight straight, Taemin said. You are a military AI. You fought in the war. You have 47,000 years of tactical knowledge. There must be a way. Daehyun was quiet for a moment, processing. There is one option. Command nexuses are heavily armored, but they have a vulnerability. Their main reactor is exposed during launch. If we can hit it at exactly the right moment, we can destroy the ship. But we need to be close. Very close. How close? Point-blank range. And we need to keep it on the planet long enough to make the shot. If it reaches orbit, it will be too fast for us to catch. More machines emerged from the jungle. Hundreds of them now, all converging on base camp. The Eternal Hammer fired again, clearing the immediate area. But Taemin could see they were fighting a losing battle. For every machine they destroyed, 2 more appeared. Base camp, this is Taemin. You need to evacuate. Get everyone onto shuttles. Head to orbit. We have 3 shuttles, Jiwoo replied. They can carry 20 people each. We have 58 people, Taemin cursed. Then make 2 trips. Load the wounded and non-essential personnel first. All our personnel are essential. Your research is worthless if you are dead. Move, a new voice entered the channel. Calm, authoritative female. This is Commander Bora of the Galactic Defense Force vessel Rising Dawn. We received your distress signal. Arriving in 5 minutes. Hope flared in Taemin's chest. Military backup. Real soldiers with real weapons. Commander, this is Taemin. You are flying into a war zone. Hostile machines, possibly thousands of them. And something big is about to come out of the ground. Acknowledged, Bora said. We are a patrol frigate. We have dealt with hostile situations before. Hold position. We are coming. The Rising Dawn dropped from orbit in a blaze of retro thrusters. It was smaller than the Eternal Hammer, sleek and modern compared to the ancient warship's brutal design. It landed near the research vessel and immediately opened fire on the machines with precision lasers. Bora's tactical discipline was evident. Her crew worked efficiently, creating a defensive perimeter around the research vessel. The shuttles began loading people, but the machines kept coming, and now Taemin's sensors showed the big contact was rising. Fast, the ground split open 3 kilometers from base camp. Soil and rock exploded upward as something massive forced its way to the surface. The command nexus emerged like a dragon from its cave. It was organic and mechanical combined, covered in armor that looked grown rather than built. Weapons bristled along its hull. Engines burned with sickly green light. All ships, this is the Eternal Hammer, Taemin transmitted on all channels. That vessel must not reach space. We are engaging. Negative, Bora shouted back. That thing is 10 times your size. You cannot win. I do not need to win, Taemin said. I just need to slow it down. He looked at Daehyun. Get me close to that ship. I need a firing solution on its reactor. Calculating optimal approach vector, Daehyun said. Be advised the Nexus has defensive turrets. We will take heavy fire. Shields? At maximum they will hold for maybe 2 minutes under sustained fire. Then we have 2 minutes. Taemin turned to Hana. Get everyone off this planet. All the shuttles, the Rising Dawn, everyone. As soon as the last person is loaded, they run for orbit. Do not wait for us, Hana's eyes widened. What are you planning? To finish what Daehyun's crew started 50,000 years ago. The Eternal Hammer accelerated toward the command nexus. The ancient warship's engines burned bright blue, pushing the massive vessel faster than it had moved in millennia. The nexus detected them immediately and opened fire. Energy weapons and missiles filled the space between the two ships. The Eternal Hammer's shields flared, absorbing hit after hit. Taemin felt the ship shake with each impact. Warning lights flashed across every console. Daehyun called out damage reports in a steady voice like he was reading a grocery list. Forward shields at 70%. Port armor taking damage. Reactor output straining. We are not going to make it, Taemin. Yes, we will, Taemin said through gritted teeth. We have to. Below them, the last shuttle lifted off from base camp. Taemin saw the Rising Dawn following, its shields protecting the civilian vessels. Good. They would make it, even if the Eternal Hammer did not. The command nexus was fully clear of the ground now, its massive bulk rising toward the sky. Its engines were building power for the jump to orbit. Taemin could see the reactor now, glowing behind armor plates that were sliding open to vent excess heat during launch. Target locked, Daehyun said, but we are still too far. I need 500 meters closer. Forward shields at 40%, Hana reported. The Eternal Hammer pushed closer. 400 meters. 300. The Nexus concentrated all its fire on them now, recognizing the threat. The shields began to fail. Energy beams burned through, scoring the hull. Explosions rippled across the ship's surface. 200 meters, Daehyun said. That is close enough. Firing main cannon, nothing happened. Daehyun? Taemin asked. Power coupling failed, the AI said. Main weapon offline. We cannot fire. Taemin looked at the massive enemy ship filling his viewport. So close, they were so close, then we ram it, he said quietly. What? Hana grabbed his arm. Taemin, no. We ram it. Full power to engines. We hit that reactor at maximum speed. The explosion will destroy both ships. Daehyun's hologram stood straight. It will kill you both. I know, Taemin said. But everyone else will live. Hana, get to an escape pod. You have maybe 30 seconds. No, she said firmly. Hana, no. She strapped herself tighter into her chair. You do not get to be a hero alone. If you are doing this, I am with you. Taemin looked at her. At her determined face, her frightened eyes, her steady hands. He nodded. Okay, together then. He turned to Daehyun. Full speed. Ramming course. Let us finish this, the Eternal Hammer's engine screamed. Part 5. The Guardian rises. The Eternal Hammer accelerated toward the command nexus like a thrown spear. Taemin gripped his console as the ship shook from weapons fire. Red lights flashed across every surface. Alarms screamed. Daehyun's hologram flickered, struggling to maintain coherence as power systems failed throughout the ship. 100 meters, Daehyun counted down. 50 meters. 30 meters. Impact in 3, 2. A brilliant blue beam cut across space, striking the command nexus directly in its exposed reactor. The beam came from above, from orbit. The nexus's armor exploded outward. Secondary explosions rippled across its hull. The massive ship began listing to one side, its engines sputtering. All ships break off. A new voice commanded over the channel. This is the Galactic Defense Force battlecruiser Endless Duty. We have firing solution. Repeat, all ships break off. Taemin pulled the Eternal Hammer into a hard turn, barely avoiding the dying nexus. Through the viewport, he saw it. The Endless Duty was a massive warship, easily twice the size of the Eternal Hammer. It hung in orbit like a metal moon, its weapons glowing as they recharged. Second volley, fire, the commander ordered. More beams lanced down. The command nexus tried to return fire, but its systems were failing. Another reactor explosion, then another. The nexus began falling, unable to maintain altitude. It hit the jungle 3 kilometers from base camp and exploded in a fireball that reached into the clouds. Taemin sat back in his chair, breathing hard. They were alive. Somehow, impossibly, they were alive. Damage report, he said weakly. Daehyun flickered more solidly now that they were not under fire. Forward shields gone. Hull breached in 47 locations. Main weapon destroyed. Port engine failing. Reactor at critical temperature. We need to land immediately. Can we make it back to the cavern? Negative. We will be lucky to make it to the clearing near base camp. The Eternal Hammer limped through the sky, trailing smoke. Hana guided them toward the clearing, her hands steady despite everything. The ship hit the ground hard, skidding through soil and trees before finally stopping. More alarms blared as systems shut down. Reactor containment failing, Daehyun warned. All personnel evacuate immediately. Taemin and Hana ran. They made it 50 meters from the ship before the reactor blew. Not a catastrophic explosion, but enough to tear through the engineering section. The Eternal Hammer groaned, settling deeper into the soil. Smoke rose from its hull. A shuttle from the Endless Duty landed nearby. Medical personnel rushed out, checking them for injuries. Taemin waved them off. I am fine. Check the research camp. They have wounded. Commander Bora approached. She was Velkrin like Jiwoo and Kyung-ho, but she carried herself like a soldier. She saluted Taemin, fist to chest in the human military style. That was the bravest or most foolish thing I have witnessed in 20 years of service, she said. Probably both. Did everyone make it off the planet? Taemin asked. All research personnel accounted for. Thanks to you and your ship. Where did you find that vessel? In the jungle, where it has been sleeping for 47,000 years. Bora looked at the damaged warship. It is a miracle it still functioned at all. It is more than that, Taemin said quietly. It is proof. By evening, the Endless Duty had deployed recovery teams across the site. Engineers examined the Eternal Hammer. Archaeologists documented everything. Medical teams treated the wounded. And in the command tent, Taemin sat across from Jiwoo and the ship's captain, Commander Malchin of the Endless Duty. The evidence is undeniable, Malchin said, reviewing data on his tablet. The ship is authentic. The technology predates current galactic civilization by tens of thousands of years, and it is definitely human in origin. Jiwoo sat with his head in his hands. I was wrong. Completely wrong. Taemin, He looked up. I do not know how to apologize sufficiently. You can start by listening next time, Taemin said. When someone brings you evidence, examine it properly before dismissing it. Agreed, Malchin said. The Galactic Council will want full reports. This changes everything we thought we knew about human history. About galactic history, Kyung-ho entered the tent. He walked directly to Taemin and bowed deeply, the traditional Velkrin gesture of profound respect. I called you crazy. I mocked your research. I laughed at your theories. I was a fool. You saved my life and the lives of everyone here. I am in your debt. Taemin felt awkward with the attention. You are not in my debt. I just did what needed to be done. No, Kyung-ho insisted. You did what nobody else could do. You found a legend and made it real. You woke a guardian and saved us all. Hana squeezed Taemin's hand under the table. He squeezed back, grateful for her presence. What happens now? Jiwoo asked. With the ship, I mean. And with the war machines. Are there more? The Endless Duties sensors have identified 17 other Command Nexus signatures across this sector. Malchin said grimly. All dormant but present. They have been sleeping just like the one we destroyed, waiting for something to wake them. Then we need to find more guardian ships, Taemin said. If humanity left one here, they left others. Daehyun said there was a whole fleet. Thousands of ships hidden across the galaxy. Can we access the Eternal Hammer's database? Malchin asked. Find coordinates for other guardian ships? Maybe, Taemin said. But we need to move carefully. The ship is badly damaged. If we push too hard, we might lose the data completely. They spent 3 days extracting information from the Eternal Hammer's computers. What they found was staggering. Star charts showing hundreds of seed colony locations, coordinates for guardian ships, records of the ancient war, and something else. Something that made Taemin's hands shake when he read it. There were 17 guardian ships hidden across known space, and their locations matched exactly with the 17 dormant Command Nexus signatures. They knew. Hana whispered, reading over his shoulder. The ancient humans knew some Nexus ships would survive. So they left guardians watching them. One guardian for each Nexus. And now that one Nexus woke, the others might wake too, Taemin said. We need to find those guardian ships before that happens. He presented his findings to the Galactic Council via long-range transmission. The chamber was silent after he finished speaking. Then the head counselor, an elderly Velcrin named Insu, spoke. Taemin of Earth, your discovery has shaken the foundations of our understanding. We owe you an apology. We owe all humans an apology. You are not newcomers to the galaxy. You are the descendants of its former protectors. With respect, Counselor, Taemin said. We are both. We are new and old. We are the children of the seed colonies and the heirs of the Guardian fleet. What matters now is what we do next. Agreed, Insu said. The Council authorizes a galaxy-wide search for the remaining Guardian ships. You will lead the expedition. Choose your team. Taemin looked at Hana. She smiled and nodded. I suppose someone needs to maintain communications. What about the Eternal Hammer? Jiwoo asked. Can it be repaired? Daehyun's hologram, now transmitted from a portable core, appeared beside Taemin. I have examined our damage. The ship can be rebuilt, but it will take time. Years, perhaps. The engineering challenges are significant. Then we start immediately, Malchin said. This ship saved lives. It deserves to fly again. That night, Taemin stood beside the damaged warship. Workers swarmed over it, beginning repairs. Lights played across the ancient hull, illuminating symbols that had not seen direct sunlight since before humans built their first cities. You know, Hana said, joining him. They laughed at you, I remember. Nobody is laughing now. Taemin smiled. No, now they want to help. It is funny how nearly dying changes perspectives. A communication alert chimed on his tablet. He opened it and found a message with no sender information. Just a file. When he opened the file, his screen filled with star charts. 17 locations highlighted in red, and a note in ancient Korean translated by his software. To whoever finds this message, we are the last crew of the Guardian fleet. We have completed our mission. The Vranik are defeated, but we know some of their machines survived. We cannot stay awake forever. Our time is ending. But you are beginning. Find the ships, wake the Guardians, protect the children of the seed colonies. They are us. They are humanity's future. Do not let them forget what we sacrificed. Do not let them forget what they can become. The Guardians remember. The Guardians are always watching. Tell them we never forgot our duty. The message was signed by 17 captains, 17 names, the last of an ancient fleet, and below that, one final line. When you wake the Guardians, tell them the watch continues. Taemin looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, 16 more ships waited. 16 more ancient captains in hibernation, dreaming of battles long past, ready to wake if their people needed them. We will find them. He promised the night sky. All of them. Hana slipped her hand into his. Where do we start? With the closest one. Taemin pulled up the star chart. According to these coordinates, there is a Guardian ship 30 light-years from here, on a planet called New Jeju. New Jeju? That is a human colony. Exactly. Taman smiled. The Guardians are still protecting us. Still watching. Even after 50,000 years. Even after we forgot they existed.